Greg, welcome to the Colorado Food Magazine, Season 2, Episode 4. We're here with Greg Bloom of Barber's Foods and Ranch Fresh Meats. We're here to interview him. He's just a full disclosure. He has been one of the greatest supporters of the HRA of many, many people we've met. He's opened a lot of doors. He's helped us connect with different agencies, government agencies, and given us a lot of product and really is helping us produce different segments of our organization. So thank you for that. I want to get that right out of the gate.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm just excited to be part of and involved and to help you, make the connections. And not that you need my help, but I just really believe in what you guys are doing as an organization. So it's great.
Well, thank you. So obviously, we're going to talk about Barber's Foods. We're going to talk about Ranch Fresh Meats. You're a distributor as well as direct consumer, and also just all around good guy. You help us, and you're helping us do a lot of things. So let's start with, tell us about yourself. Where did you grow up?
I grew up on a farm outside of Brighton, just a mile west of Brighton on the Platte River, and I grew up as a kind of a 4-H farm kid. We had just 40 acres, so it's kind of a hobby farm, not a big enough farm to do production agriculture. You need pretty...
It was beautiful. We toured it a couple weeks ago for our Meat on Fire festival.
Yeah, and you kind of saw the layout of that farm with the Platte River cutting through the middle of it and with all the trees. It really became a nice place for us to cater company picnics. So I grew up as a kid in the food business. Didn't know it would be my future, but we were feeding people of 500 to 2,200 people for company picnics on that farm. So that's kind of how I got in the food business by accident, was just learning how to feed people. And today people will say, hey, we have an event, we need to feed 200 or 300 people. And I said, that's nothing. We feed 2 or 3 people, no problem.
You fed 1,200 out there, you said at one point.
The biggest group we ever did was Denver RTD, the bus company. We did their company picnic, and that was 2,200 people.
Oh, wow.
That was too big for the farm, though. We didn't have enough parking. But we had to bus.
That was a big farm. That's where we're going to have, more details to follow the Meat on Fire festival, the ultimate barbecue.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
It really, really is. There's so much. We're going to do some natural wood cooking. We're going to have our Chefs Association as well as the Colorado Chefs Association and some special guests from out of the country we're flying in. I haven't told you about that, but you were in Mexico last week.
Well, any typical farm kid, though, you want to get off the farm because farm work is not glamorous. Your dad doesn't pay you because it's part of your room and board. And my dad, being a kind of a stiff-necked disciplinarian, he was in the Marines for 8 years. I was a teenage boy, and I got to get out of here. This is, typical teenager and his dad.
Little rebellion.
You love your dad, but you got to get some distance. So my ticket off the farm, believe it or not, was the Rotary Club in Brighton. Asked me if I wanted to apply to be an exchange student somewhere in the world. So I filled out the application and I chose 3 countries. They had 3. I chose Switzerland, Germany, and France. And they came back to me a month later and said, you can go to China, Japan, or Korea.
And what survey says?
I went to Japan just because I had some Japanese friends in Brighton. There's a lot of Japanese people from, way back in Brighton, the Cicadas and a lot of other names. So I decided just to go to Japan, and that was my ticket off the farm. I went there my senior year in high school.
I'm going to jump forward but come back.
Okay.
You have some great Wagyu beef.
Yep.
Does that story going to Japan tie into what you're doing today?
It does, because I actually visited a Wagyu farm and ranch when I lived in Japan, and I didn't know that I'd be selling Wagyu years later, but Wagyu is the word for Japanese beef, and it's a really cool breed. So yeah, anyway, that kind of ties in. So anyway, I come back from Japan after a year and go to college, and then major in Japanese language, minor in business, and I want to do something with my Japanese. By this time, I've spent 2 years in Japan, 1 year of high school, 1 year of college, and I was looking for a job using my Japanese. So I went downtown to kind of like a Chamber of Commerce of Japan that doesn't exist here anymore, and they gave me a list, John, of all the companies in Colorado doing business that were Japanese owned. And lo and behold, I get a job with a meat company. And really wasn't looking to be in the meat business, but I've been in the meat business ever since. That was 1991. So I've had 31 years in the meat business, working in 6 different USDA plants and selling meat my whole life and traveling around the world. I get to travel all over the world to sell meat, which is kind of cool. So,
and you just got back from Mexico.
Yeah. Mexico is one of my most favorite places to go. I just got back from Guadalajara and a food show I do every year there, and it was great. But I've got to go. I'm not boasting, but you just never know where God's going to take you through these routes we get on. But I got to go to China, Hong Kong, Canada, Dominican Republic, Costa Rica, Colombia, Mexico many times, and so that's kind of fun.
That's really cool.
I have a travel gene in me. I don't know why, but I just love to travel.
We're going to jump back to Japan, and what was your favorite part about being in Japan?
I love the culture there. They are just so respectful to their elders, and they're so clean and tidy. You won't go to Japan and see a dirty street. They're just very clean and very safe. And I left my Canon 35 millimeter camera in a park hanging on a tree one day during the Cherry Blossom Festival there in the spring in Tokyo. And I didn't realize I had left it there until about 10 o'clock that night. I'm thinking, where's my camera? Oh, I left it hanging on the tree. Guess what? Went back there the next morning. It was still hanging there? Still hanging there. No one had touched it. So, I just love the culture. They're just very respectful of other people. Yeah.
No, that's great. So what are a couple other places you've traveled that you really like?
I just love...
Probably besides all of them.
Well, my favorite place to go back to over and over is Mexico, just because the people are very friendly there. The food scene's awesome there. There's just a lot of culinary talent in Mexico, and fresh food, and they do a lot with a little down there. Even go to these little street trucks. They're just doing an amazing job with food there. So.
That's our whole goal with the Hispanic Restaurant Association, Hispanic Chefs Association, Hispanic Top Chef. I mean, you see it, we know it, everybody knows it. The talent here, and we're just trying to give them a platform.
Right.
I mean, we have nothing to do with bringing up the talent, but we just want to give this platform that's of this magnificent talent out there.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the food. Tell us about that. What do you like about it?
Well, I like the fact that they use a lot of fresh ingredients there. You'll see them cooking from scratch. I would say they do more cooking from scratch than an American restaurant would be, because American restaurants are busy and they're like chain driven. One thing that's kind of refreshing down there is you can still see the independent operator thrive down in Mexico. Up here, it's hard for the independent operator to thrive because the chains have buying power and they can lose money at times and still do okay because some of them are public companies. But they're using more prepared food mixes in their store. They're not making their soups from scratch. In Mexico, they're all making their soups from scratch. You can't go order tortilla soup in Mexico. Yeah, it comes out of a box. We mix it with some powder. No, I mean, they're making it from scratch. So that's kind of cool.
That's true. And you've talked, I'm a fifth generation American. I grew up with typical, I'm going to use the term Tex-Mex. It's great. No, that's not my intent. But only until we really became involved in the past few years did I understand what true Latin Mexican food was. Now I can't go back. It's just simply amazing.
Yeah.
I'm spoiled. My son, we're very spoiled.
Yep.
So what is so Mexico is one of your favorite things. So and we talked about the Wagyu. We're going to tie everything together here. So what made you want to buy Barber's Foods or Ranch Fresh Meats? Let's move forward to the business. You are a distributor, and I also want to tell people about what you do, because it's a magnificent product. I mean, you've given me some samples. You've given some of our members samples. You've contributed to some of our chefs association meetings, and just the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. So, what made you go this route versus just the traditional meat cycles?
Well, I was selling beef to Barber's company, and they've been around since 1949. And the Barber's family, the grandkids of the founder, really wanted to retire, and they didn't have anyone in their family. The younger generation didn't really want to do a wholesale food distributor. It's just hard work. It's not glamorous. Schlepping meat around and food, it's not glamorous. But so I bought the business from them in 2018, and they two of the Barber's family members still work with me, and one full-time and one just seasonally in the fall when we get real busy. And we sell premium quality, locally sourced when possible, meats that the thing that makes us really different, John, is we have vetted out both the farm and the ranch and the USDA plant it comes from. So I've been in every single plant where the meat comes from that we source.
Is that the one we toured a few weeks ago?
That's one of them. Yeah, that's one of that's our bison supplier and our beef supplier. But also, we get air chilled chicken from a family ranch in California, and we get Wagyu from Nebraska. So I've been to all these places and I have vetted them out. So that's what makes us a little bit different. Is we're really, our mission, John, is to connect people. Maybe the word is reconnect people to the farm, because you hear the farm to fork story a lot, but the truth is when you go to any retail store or a restaurant chef opens any box of meat, they do not know the farm it came from. They cannot know. They cannot call the rancher and say, I have a question about blank. We enable chefs to do that if they want to. That's our goal. So.
Okay, great. So let's talk about, I'm really interested in, let's go through each product. I mean, the reason I thought it was important for you to, because you're not a broadliner.
Nope.
So and there's nothing wrong with broadliners.
Nope.
But our goal is to connect the smaller distributor that's directly connected to the farmer, the rancher, and with great food and is minimally processed at all. Mm-hmm. So let's go through each one you think. And I particularly, because I've had a lot of the Wagyu beef, that's amazing to me. And let's talk about the ranch and, the air-cooled chicken. You taught me about that. I didn't know certain things about the chicken. Like what was it, chilled? Air-chilled?
Yeah, air-chilled chicken. So
let's step through each one of those.
Okay, well, let's go to air-chilled chicken first. So there are no chickens anymore grown in Colorado for meat production. There's only some chickens raised that produce eggs in the Montrose area and some in northern Colorado. But if you think you're buying chickens raised in Colorado, you're not, because Barber's was one of the first and last companies in Colorado to actually own grow houses and have a slaughter plant. And we had a slaughter plant in Broomfield, which we sold in the mid-90s. I didn't, but the family did. So we became a distributor after they sold the farm. And we were looking for a really good source, family-owned chicken production company. And the closest one that we found is actually in Central California, in the Central Valley, owned by the Pittman family. They're good friends of ours, and they are vertically integrated. So they're growing the grain. They're hatching the eggs. They're raising them in grow houses, and they can go outside. And I visited and seen all this. And just a great family. It's owned by a family. It's not a big corporation. It's not multinational. It's just a family farm that got big because their product is so good. I mean, their plant is not small. It's a pretty big plant. It's it's about the size of this building times two. Here at this campus. So, but air chilled chicken. Why air chilled chicken? Well, there's only two ways to cool a chicken carcass, John, after the feathers have come off. And the cheap way, the fast way, is use water. So the chicken would go into a water bath like a swimming pool, and just after like a few minutes into the shift, that water is pretty brackish. You can imagine the feathers, the blood, the yuck. So they have to put bleach in that water to keep the bacteria down. In fact, they put 10 times more bleach in that pool than you have in a jacuzzi or a swimming pool anywhere in Colorado to keep the bacteria down. So that chicken is absorbing that water, which is why if you go to any retail store and look at the label for any chicken, it says ingredients chicken, asterisk. Then you look down at the bottom and the asterisk says may contain up to 5% added water. Think, where's that added water coming from? It's coming from that bacteria pool. Okay, so that's gross. If people saw that, and I've seen it many times, I've been to many chicken plants back east where most of the chicken comes from, in Arkansas and Texas and Louisiana, and that is gross. You won't eat chicken after you see that for a while until you forget about it. Air-chilled chicken. The way they cool the carcass is more expensive, but they hang the chickens in the ceiling in freezing cold, 40 degrees below zero air that's cooled with nitrogen is blowing across the carcass. So they don't get the chicken dirty bath. They just cool it down. And so that costs more money, but the chicken tastes better, has better shelf life. In fact, John, did you know that in the EU, in the European Union, they don't allow water-chilled chicken to be sold, which is why U.S. chicken companies can't export to the EU. They don't allow water-chilled chicken because they think it's unsanitary and disgusting.
Oh, I didn't know that.
All chicken in the EU is air-chilled chicken. Here, it's kind of catching on. But so we sell air-chilled chicken because it tastes better, because it has a better shelf life, and because it comes from a family we know personally that we've vetted out. So basically, we have found the best tasting, best storage chicken that we can find in the United States, and that's what we sell.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And so then there's, do you want to go to the next one?
Yeah, let's, yeah.
I won't spend as much time on all, but Beeler's pork in Iowa. Most pigs in this country are raised in Iowa or at least slaughtered in Iowa. That's where the majority of the slaughter plants are. And the Beeler's family has been raising pork for 5 generations, way before Iowa was even a state. And they do something called a Duroc pork breed. Duroc is a highly marbled, high quality. I tell people Duroc is to pork what Wagyu is to beef.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Very well marbled. And these pigs are of a temperament that the sows do not need gestation crates. So their story is their family to make their product different than mainstream conventional meat. Pork is no gestation crates, Duroc pork breed, and they use a non-GMO feed. So most pigs are fed soy. Most soy is genetically modified. They don't use that because they want to be different. So,
right.
And their pork is outstanding. I mean, you could eat one of their pork chops and go, wow. I mean, that's just the best pork chop I've ever had in my life.
Making me hungry now.
It's got marbling in it. You know, it's that the traditional conventional pork. Most people know. They grow these pigs to be efficient and in and out and get to market as soon as possible, but they've bred the marbling out of the pig, which is why most conventional pork chops out of pork loins are dry and there's no fat.
Add some sauce.
Add some sauce. Always add the sauce to the pork chop. Yeah, right. Correct.
That's funny. So I'm going to jump back before we jump back into those. And what in your life or your life philosophy made you want to go down this path to seek something, I'm going to use the term pure or better than anything else?
I worked in 6 different USDA meat plants, and they weren't doing anything illegal or wrong or immoral, but meat loses its identity in a meat plant, typically, because they can't keep track of all the parts and pieces that come in on one side, whether the animal's slaughtered there or not, and then gets processed, ground, cut into chops, cut into steaks, and then out the door with the company name on it instead of the farmer's name. So, and also if you look at any retail store now, most of the meat sold is the store brand.
Right.
It's not the farmer's name on it. That's because the stores, the big national, multinational public retailers, they want to sell their own brand.
Right.
That's what they want to do. So meat has lost its identity, which I think is a shame. So I'm trying to reconnect people to, you can know the rancher, you can know the farmer, you can know the story. And people, John, when I tell them this, they think I'm lying to them. They treat me as suspect. Like, you can't know that because nobody knows that. I think I'm the only online retailer at ranchfreshmeats.com that when you get a box of meat in the mail, or through UPS when you order it from us, or we dropped it off on your front door if you're in the Denver metro area, we actually leave the farmer's name on the package. Every other company puts their own brand on it.
Okay.
I'm not selling Ranch Fresh Meats, pork chops. I'm selling Tim Beeler's pork chops, and his name is on it. So,
that's our goal at the Colorado Food Magazine, just to tell people stories. We want to connect, the gate, the plate, the pig to the consumer, the chef, everything else. That's our goal, is to tell the story. And you're right in the middle of that. You're a distributor. And so that way, not only, and you are open to telling where you get your stuff from. And that's the beauty of what we're doing, is we're trying to tell that story and allow somebody like you that has really helped our organization continue to thrive and grow without, seeking dollars from everywhere. Just like, hey, let's just open a door. And you believe in our mission. I firmly believe you believe in our mission.
I do.
And once again, it's through action, not just words. Because, I'll be quite honest, a lot of the organizations, everybody says they want to help, and then I never hear from them again. They send a nice email, they do a little, LinkedIn post, and then I never hear from them. And that's their feel-good story. But our goal, like Alan with his his Americana Media Studio, Foodies Media Solutions, everybody around us is really, really, they're on the team. They're performance and action oriented, and that's why this platform I want to give to you.
Well, thank you
to help. And let's talk a little bit more. That's a little what do you call it, pontification, or me talking about reality. And that's why I'm starting to reach out to the people that have really helped us grow to this point.
Well, back to why I do what I do. Part of it is reconnecting people to the farm, the ranch, the plant that actually raises or processes the meat. But the other thing is there's a lot of mediocre meat out there in the marketplace that's just mediocre. And we actually do taste tests all the time. For example, we're looking for the summer right now, 5 of the best tasting sausage and bratwurst that we can find in the industry. And some
Who's
of
we?
Me and my team.
Okay.
Me and the Barber's team. Yeah, we're tasting. So we have different vendors. We have local ones. We have ones that are out of the state. But we're just looking for the best of the best, not just in the taste of the product, but also the story and how they raise the animals. And so, that's our passion, is to find so that when people buy from us, we've already vetted out for them.
Everything is true.
Yeah, that's right. And here's just a little example. So in the United States, under the U.S. law, product can be imported from anywhere in the world. Let's just say you and I buy a load of ground beef from Uruguay, organic grass-finished beef, and we buy that because it's cheaper than sourcing it in the United States. But we set it into a meat plant anywhere in the United States, and we say, we want you to take these 40-pound blocks, thaw them out, put them through a grinder, 2 grinds, a coarse grind, a fine grind, put them through a metal detector, package that beef. It'll be 90% organic beef now labeled, and we want you to put product of USA on the package. And a meat plant will say, no problem, that's U.S. law. As long as the meat has been transformed somehow, processed somehow, you can put the product of USA sticker on there. And it can even say packaged in Los Angeles, California, product of USA. So the consumer thinks, I think most common sense, this product comes to the United States of America. No, that's not what it means. It means the product was processed in the United States. So I think that is dishonest. I don't think that people would like to buy meat that they don't really know where it comes from in the world. So we don't buy meat that's been processed that way, So that's just one thing I could list on and on and on. But back to our passion is to give people the best of the best.
Right. Let's talk about some salmon and then some Wagyu.
Yeah, so the salmon is a simple story. My friend Taryn, who's from Colorado, him and his wife own a boat, and they just do one big run every year. In the fall, August, September, they're in Alaska on their own boat they own, and their brand is Thunder's Catch, but they catch the salmon there during the run, the fall run. And the thing that makes them different is that they actually bleed out the salmon when they catch them. So they catch them in nets, and then every night they have to report their catch to the Department of Agriculture in Alaska, because the Department of Agriculture in Alaska doesn't want to overfish, so all the boats up there have to report so that they don't overfish the waters. And they never do. The run up there is, the Kokanee Salmon Run is amazing. But anyway.
Have you done that?
No, I haven't done it. And Taryn has invited me to go, but it's hard work. And he doesn't just want you for a couple days, because he goes out for a while. And so you're with him for a month.
It's not a cruise line.
Not a cruise line. And you're going to be bleeding fish, and it's just a lot of work. So I thought, he sends me videos, and I'll put those on my website. But so that's the Alaskan salmon. That's just a once a year thing. And then the Wagyu, I met Dan Morgan, of all places. I was doing a food show in 2017, I think, or 18, I think it was 2018 in Hong Kong. And I'm there, selling U.S. meats for a couple different companies, and Dan Morgan walks by, and he sells a ton of Wagyu over into Hong Kong. And so him and I get to know each other, and I had a booth, and he was kind of just walking around, meeting with people, meeting with customers, and going to lunches and dinners. And so I had a dinner with him, and I got to know him, and then I went and visited his ranch in Nebraska. And then I said, hey, I would love to represent you in Colorado as your food service and online distributor. So so I've been back to his ranch several times, and just an amazing product. So Wagyu, typically in this country, is what we call F1. There's F1 through F5. F1's the lowest.
This is the educate for our audience. This is the educate portion of this podcast about, several parts of it, which you're talking about. You're always educating us, and that's always our goal, to educate the consumer. I was fascinated when he told me this. The first time, I did not know this. All I know was the end quality, how great it was. But then we started talking a lot, like, can you educate me about beef in this Wagyu? And so let's start again there.
Okay, so Wagyu, just to back up, means Japanese cow, and It is the only breed in the world that God made that never stops marbling. That means when you have these animals in a feedlot for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months, they will marble all the way until practically 80% fat, which, basically is too much fat. But the product just tastes great because that saturated fat, that intramuscular marbling is just delicious.
Right.
So it became famous for its marbling and its eating quality. And Dan Morgan imported a Wagyu many decades ago and started breeding it with his Hereford and Angus breeds. But back to the grades of Wagyu, there's F1 through F5. F1 is 50% Wagyu mixed with 50% another breed. Typically in America, it's going to be Angus or Hereford, those English breeds. That's typically what you'll find in the United States is a F1 Wagyu, because F5, which is purebred Wagyu, is 100% Wagyu. That meat is from Japan and has genetic strains that can be traced way back and cost $200 or $300 a pound.
Wow.
It's very expensive. Dan Morgan's program is F4, so 93% or better purebred Wagyu. So it's better than most of the Wagyu sold in this country today. There are some great Wagyu programs in this country, but most of them are diluted because they're sourced from so many ranches. They just keep up with demand.
It's volume and demand.
It's volume and we need more Wagyu. We'll go get another rancher in blank state to raise for us. But all of Dan Morgan's Wagyu comes from his ranch. So it's one ranch, one plant, very consistent. So that's why it's so good.
Wow. So F4 out of F5. So is it, maybe correct me, is it Kobe beef? Is that different?
No, it's Kobe style beef. And in this country, if Wagyu beef is labeled like in a ribeye form, it can say Wagyu on there, but it has to say American style Kobe beef. It can't say Kobe beef because Kobe beef would have to come from Japan, because Kobe is a city in Japan. And I've been to that city, and they are famous for how they raise Wagyu there. And that beef is crazy expensive, like just crazy. I did a dinner one night in Tokyo with some friends, and we went out. We were saving for this for a while. We went to have Kobe beef, authentic Kobe beef. John, they bring you a wood platter like this. It's about the size of a piece of paper made out of thin wood, and they've got the nose print of the animal in the.
Oh, really?
With his pedigree, so you can see his pedigree and his. All his factual information and his nose print, and that's the beef you're eating, Is that authentic? Well, my point is 4 ounces of that beef serves shabu style. They don't typically eat that as a steak. It's so well marbled that it wouldn't taste good as a steak. They put it in hot broth with vegetables. That's called shabu. It's a hot pot that you share. So 4 ounces of Kobe beef with some vegetables was $450 per person.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was crazy. So if people ever want authentic Kobe beef, you're going to pay hundreds of dollars for it. But you don't really need to, because in steak form, you don't really need Wagyu marbled that much. There's also these different grades of marbling for Wagyu. I won't go into all the grading details, because there's the genetic side, F1 through F5, that's genetics. And then there's the how well is it marbled in different grades. But just to basically say, typically the Wagyu I sell is 2 times more marbling than USDA Prime. So USDA Prime is the highest grade we have in this country.
Right.
Well, this would be 2 times more marbled than that.
Oh, wow. All I know is it's delicious.
It is good. It is good.
You've given us some tri-tip, but also some of the other things you've done with like our Chefs Association is some of the issues the ranchers have. They have, they sell the prime, the Wagyu, but there's these other cuts.
Yep. It's always the cuts they can't sell.
Okay, let's talk about those and how we can help do that.
Yeah, well, every rancher that's trying to sell direct to the consumer or direct themselves, that's not selling to a big meat plant, because when they sell their cattle to a big meat plant, this becomes the meat plant's problem. What is the problem I'm talking about? The problem of moving all the parts. There's over 112 parts on a beef cow. So they get stuck with things. Like Dan Morgan right now, he's always long on tri-tips. Well, tri-tip's a wonderful sirloin steak.
Yeah, no
it makes
kidding.
Great tacos or anything. It's very famous in California. Most Californians are used to seeing tri-tip on a menu, even tri-tip at a retail store. But you come anywhere east of California, they don't really know about it. So that's one thing that we always have on special. We're selling them right now on sale at ranchfreshmeats.com. We have them on sale on the wholesale side. That's just one idea, but there's other things like the cheek meat. Cheek meat inside the cheeks is a wonderful item for making tacos or burritos. And then there's all the thin meats like the skirts And, everyone wants the middle meats, the ribeyes, the strips, and the tenders. Everyone wants those. But there's all the other cuts
Right.
that have to be sold and utilized.
Right, yeah, and they would go to Ranch Fresh Meats or contact you if they're a food service or business to do that. Yeah, and that's our chefs have expressed great interest in that. So thank you for that. And
Sure.
It's a great thing. So there's so much to talk about. We're going to have you on a second time because we're just running out of time on this one. But how can we talk about, this is one avenue, about what you do. Let's talk about how would they get a hold of you if they're a restaurant and talk to us about that process.
If they're a restaurant and they would like to see our portfolio of what we offer from the 6 different families that we buy from with different proteins, barbersfoods.com is our website. And then our email is there, and our phone number is there. We have a warehouse up near the National Western Stock Show Complex, not far from downtown Denver. And we have trucks out, refrigerated trucks out, delivering all over Denver metro area every day. We go down to Springs. We go up to Boulder, Longmont, 3 times a week. So, yeah, barbersfoods.com. And then they can also just call the office and ask for me. And if I'm not there, they'll get my voicemail, but I'll get right back to them. So, and then on the direct-to-consumer side, if they want to send a gift to their dad for Father's Day or try some product at home, just a couple steaks, you can order 2 steaks at ranchfreshmeats.com. And when we ship the product, we include a little bit of information about every farm we source from to help you reconnect to that farm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'd love to connect with some of those farms, get them on our podcast, because I think it's just a great story. What you're doing for us. And then one last thing we talked about, because we always worry about giving back. We want to give back. We're all blessed. You talked about the Denver Rescue Mission and how our Chefs Association can play into that.
Well, they do a great job in Denver helping those that need help it could be food and shelter. It could be they're rehabilitated and they're off the drugs or the alcohol that caused them to be homeless or caused them to get where they are in life. But they have programs there where they house them and then train them to do a career. One of those they do is in the culinary world because they have kitchens and they feed people, a lot of people. The Denver Rescue Mission feeds at their different facilities. It's an amazing number of people. I think it's like something like I can't remember, but it's a lot. It's like 8,000 people a week. It's a lot of people.
Wow,
they're feeding. Yeah, so I just believe in their cause and not just helping people with their physical needs, but helping people with their spiritual needs and their emotional needs. Because a lot of the people that go there, they're dealing with some real tough life issues.
Right.
And so I just believe in we help them with programming and we help them financially and we help plug people into them because I've gone to help them with some of the things they do. So I just think they're doing a great job where, we drive around and we see all the people that are struggling and have kind of dropped out of this culture.
Society, yeah.
Yeah. And, you tend to think, well, just send them to their church. Their church will help them. No, their church doesn't have the resource to help them. Okay, send them to the Denver City and County of Denver. They don't have the resources to help them. In fact, they've partnered with the Denver Rescue Mission.
Yeah.
So these people, that's the real big opportunity for us to channel men. And if it's women and children, then, they'll refer those over to the Catholic Charities because the Catholic Church will help women and women with children. And the Denver Rescue Mission is focused on the men.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah. Well, we'll do what we can. We'll bring it out. We'll connect there. Well, thank you for everything you do for us.
Oh, you're welcome.
It really is appreciative, and we'll put this out. We'll tell our chefs. Continue to tell our chefs. You've connected with Chef Pablo, Chef Manny, and a few others. We want to continue to open those doors for you because if you want the best product, what I've seen, you're one of the guys to go to. So,
no, thank you. Thanks for having me on today.
Thank you for everything you do. Thank you.
Welcome.
Bye.